Hi, my name's Aaron. I'm so glad you've joined me. Today we're going to be talking about a topic I like to call difficult conversations. Now, just to let you in a little bit on my life, I've had two significant burnouts in my life, and I didn't see either one of them coming. So you'd think I'd learn after the first one, but it really took the second one to open my eyes. And I've really dedicated these years of my life to helping others avoid burnout because it really derailed my life for a number of years. So today we're going to be talking about this idea of difficult conversations. And you may be wondering, what does difficult conversations have to do with burnout? And the answer is, for a lot of us, everything. One of the main causes of why I ended up in burnout was because I failed to have difficult conversations for a number of years. I avoided the conflict because it made me feel uncomfortable, or because I thought I was doing it and being kind to the other person, but really what I was doing was I was running from the conflict that we needed to have so that we could actually grow closer together. So I want you to just think about those moments in your life where you've had a hard conversation, and I want you to just recognize a couple things. Most of the times when we step into difficult conversations, it ends up being less about techniques and it ends up being more about our own self-awareness. So difficult conversations, if you're going to be successful in them, it's actually more about self-awareness than just about following a process or a technique. So what you're going to hear today is not necessarily a process or technique, but I'm hoping that this is going to grow your self-awareness. Now, when difficult conversations come, it's easy for us to make it all about us. Maybe someone comes with an accusation. Maybe someone comes with some critical judgment towards you. Maybe someone's coming at you just with aggression. And when all of that aggression, or maybe things that aren't true come towards you, or maybe things that are true and it just bothers you, what happens is our body begins to try and make sense of this. And the temptation is to give into this belief that it really is all about us. But the truth is, in a difficult conversation, it's always a two-way street. And it's not just about you, it's also about them. And it's mostly about you managing yourself well. That's what helps you to make it through a difficult conversation. So I want to say that one more time. It's more about you managing yourself well than it is about whatever they say. They can call you names, they can be aggressive, but really what you do, how you respond, is the most important thing. Now, I would call that leading from overflow. When you can manage yourself to the place where you're leading from an overflow, that's when you win. So if you think about overflow, you might be wondering, what do you mean by overflow, Aaron? I'm talking about an overflow of joy, fulfillment, meaning, purpose. I mean, have you ever gone into conflict when you know your purpose, you know your meaning, you're glad to be there, you feel fulfilled? It's so much easier to go through difficult conversations and have the conflict. But if you're not feeling like that, if you're not coming from a place of overflow, then what happens is you could be engaging in that conversation from a deficit. You might be wondering, okay, Aaron, what does it mean to lead from a deficit? Well, a deficit would be like coming from a place of bitterness, frustration, reactionary brain, blaming, shaming, or maybe even needing to control. If you're finding yourself doing these things like needing to control or wanting to shame the other person or blame them, that would mean you're most likely leading from a deficit. And when you lead from a deficit, what happens is generally the conversation, that difficult conversation, it won't go well. Even if you win, you still lose. Because when you lead from a deficit in difficult conversations, generally you erode trust. It's not very often that you can lead from a deficit and then come out in a positive when you personally were being aggressive or engaging in behaviors that weren't true to desiring a connection and relationship with the other person. Now, I should qualify here. My goal in a difficult conversation is to come out stronger together than we would be apart. Now, obviously, that's not always possible, but the goal is for that to happen. The goal is that when there is challenges, when there are disruptions, when we do need to have the hard conversations, that it would bring us back together. So just as we wrap up this first segment on difficult conversations, I just want to remind you that if you want to go somewhere fast, especially in a difficult conversation, move slowly. I'm going to say that one more time. If you want to go somewhere fast in a difficult conversation, move slowly. Pay attention to your triggers. Pay attention to what makes you want to run away. Pay attention to what makes you want to fight. Pay attention to what makes you want to freeze and just like you don't know what to do. Pay attention to what makes you just want to appease people. Oh, of course. And you just give them all this ground that you didn't really intend to, but maybe they intimidate you. Pay attention to those triggers and move slowly. Move slowly with the intention of coming from a place of overflow, joy, fulfillment, meaning, purpose. And if you do this, what happens is you can move through these difficult conversations really well. But it takes that self-awareness. So as you step into these difficult conversations, remember, listen well and end well. And if you can listen well, it puts you in the position. It's like he who asks the questions generally tends to be the person in control of the conversation. So if people come at you with accusation and intensity, generally they don't have very much control. But if you can be a person who's asking questions, wow, help me understand that. I didn't realize I was impacting you that way. What could I do different next time? Wow, I really messed that one up. Okay, well, help me understand, how did this impact you or how did this impact others? When you come from that place, it disarms people and it gives you a chance to rebuild relationship.